I remember my general manager told me the theater was 2 days from closing its doors.
We were at the point where I was worried about even making payroll. We were not able to play all the films that we were scheduled to play.
I basically had already started looking for another job. I was like, this is it. There's no hope.
It was scary, it was stressful.
The end of that year, the end of 2013, was going to be the end of film. Our industry went through this incredible transformation over the last 5 or 6 years, and that's the conversion from a traditional celluloid-based film to digital-based film.
Well, when the studio said they're going to stop producing prints, that's when things started to get really real. We
started getting letters in 2013, 2012 and 2013 saying, listen, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Exhibitor, you need to get your act together and start moving towards transition, because we're going to stop making celluloid-based film prints very, very soon.
We basically had to convert to digital or close the theater. And back then, I mean, we didn't really have the money to just buy digital projectors.
We had one digital projector for a good while, and we thought we might have been okay with that, but then when the required conversion came about, all we could do is find investors to help us get the money that we needed.
We kind of reached out to the community. We are a very community-based business. We started this thing up called Save Encore. Encore was our former name before we rebranded. And we were asking for donations from guests who had just come to see movies.
We had things going on at the snack bar. We were asking guests every time they came up to the counter about whether they would be willing to donate to help save the theater.
It was difficult having to ask guests to pay a little extra money just to keep us open. It was a little sad that it had to come to that, despite the fact that we're a beloved pillar of this specific community.
We had not yet been able to secure the funding to make the change, and we actually started experiencing an inability to play certain movies that year because they just were not available on film.
I had guests all the time asking me like, oh, are you guys okay? Is this place gonna make it? Is this place, people would tell me all the time about how much they love this place and how they hope we can find a way to make it work. Obviously there were a ton of people donating money. There's like regulars who are coming in more often than usual to try and like help us and support us in any way they could.
We actually lost our Burlington location, which was our, it was this old location in Burlington, but they had 6 screens. It was an older cinema and we just couldn't afford it, and that theater had to close. So it looked a lot like that was gonna happen to us, and we were just waiting for it to happen.
I worked for the company in Burlington. It used to be called Encore Cinemas. And I was not a manager there at the time. And I had only been working there for about 2 or 3 years before we closed down. So we had, it was about 6 projectors in that theater. Here we have 5. So you can imagine if we could barely have paid for the digital projectors here in the Oakville theater, which is our main theater, we could never afford that in our second run theater, because that's what the Burlington theater was, a second run theater. So we just had to close down because of that.
I started to hear bad things from the management staff that I was close with. I started to notice that everybody was being scheduled a lot less frequently. We weren't getting all the same movies that we used to be able to.
We all had our resumes ready. We were all ready to lose our jobs on a minute's notice. And we saw it happen before, so it really looked like it was going to happen again.
We weren't alone in this. There were a lot of other theaters that were experiencing the exact same thing, and some had closed their doors. And I literally was at the point of sending out notices to our staff and our management to say, Thursday night's our last night.
When you see a theater go out of business once, you start seeing the signs. You start seeing less product being ordered. You start seeing less hours being available for shifts. You start seeing less bodies in the door.
We needed to find a way to properly fund the transition and to do it in a way that was affordable to our business. So we looked at avenues such as crowdfunding, which some of our colleague theaters in the United States had done, and for that matter, even alternative forms of sponsorships and things like that. We raised a little bit of money with that, but it really wasn't. It was falling far short of where we needed to be.
It's hard to imagine that that anybody would invest in a place that is so obviously failing. despite how much everybody loves film.
It was a Sunday night. I was, preparing myself to go into work on Monday and lower the boom on everybody. And so I just got very inspired and wrote this long letter, which described our problem and put it in the context of It's a Wonderful Life, and asked for the community to consider supporting one last shot at trying to pull this together.
An email went out, basically, Jeff, begging that somebody who was willing to invest in the little guy, invest in a small cinema, if they'd be willing to make that leap and try and help us.
And the next morning I woke up to my email box just being full of responses from the community. And not just full of responses, not just letters of support or whatever, but actual commitments to fund. Like people that were actually saying, I'll give you $50, I'll give you $100, I'll give you $500, I'll give you $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, towards helping support your business.
The community was super enthusiastic about it, especially our regular guests, which makes up a really high percentage of our guests.
I literally had to stop them from coming in because we had exceeded our goal within 48 hours. And I had to say, listen, I don't want to take any more money at this point. This is enough to support us for what we needed to do for this first phase of this miracle campaign.
It was pretty much a Christmas miracle. Closest thing to a miracle we're going to get.
After that whole thing happened, we rebranded completely. We changed our name, we changed our sort of strategy, and film.ca is what it is today only because of that.
This theater in particular, it provides an experience that you just don't get anymore in the bigger places because it's smaller. It's the charm that really attracts me to this place. The vests and the ties and all of that, all that old-timey stuff, that's just fun.
People come in every day and they're happy to support us. They're happy we're still in business. The only reason we're around is because of the people that want to come here.
If I could find one word to express about this entire experience, it would be inspiring.